Hey everyone, it's Greg. Another episode of Unbreakable Spirits back again. Um, I haven't recorded one of these episodes for about a week because I had some things going on, so I wanted to stop and say hello. I hope everybody is doing well. First of all, please excuse the pirate on my shirt. I haven't abandoned my Philadelphia teams. I'm always a Philadelphia sports fan. But I had this pirate shirt, and I like the pirate. I got the shirt when we were out in Pittsburgh a few years ago, visiting the Pittsburgh, and nice city. I've never been out there before. It's very nice. Went out for the weekend to see the Pirates and the Phillies play, and it was a beautiful, beautiful time. They have a beautiful stadium out there across the state, PNC Park. Had a great time. People were very friendly, very nice. Of course, this was a time when the Pirates weren't doing so good, but had a great time. And this was one of the souvenirs I got when I was out there. So I don't wear it too often. I don't wear it out because then I get a lot of comments that pirates. So I only kind of wear this around the house. And that's what I'm doing today, just kind of hanging around the house, slumming around the house. I'll go out later on the deck and chat, get much sun. But so I just wanted to point that. Anyway, yeah, earlier in the week, I had a little thing going. I had to go in and get a colonoscopy and an endoscopy at the same time. Hopefully they get used to seeing two. Anyway, so I haven't had a colonoscopy for about 5 years. And they tell you when you get a certain age, it's good to have one every 5 years or so, just to check on things. And the endoscopy, I had that a few years ago because I have acid reflux, so they want to keep an eye on things down there too. So I went in, and first of all, the prep is for the colonoscopy, as you probably know. For those who ever had a colonoscopy, it's terrible. It's just awful. Although it's different. Back in the day when I first had my first. This is about the fourth I've had, I guess. Used to have to drink this awful fizzy, fuzzy soda kind of stuff, and you had to drink it and then drink some more, and you added stuff to it, and it was awful. It was just terrible. Now you just drink Gatorade. You put some stuff in there too with it, mix it up, drink it down, and you're good to go. Pardon the pun. And so Sunday was prep day. It was awful. But I expected about it. I knew what to expect, so it wasn't so scary after all. It was just something you have to do. Some things in life you have to do. It's what I had to do. So I did the prep work, got in Monday morning. First of all, I went to great hospital in Philadelphia, University of Pennsylvania Hospital. Great place. People there were just so nice, very, very caring, and very, very in tune, with what's going on. I can't say enough about them. And the thing is, when I was in hospitals as a kid, I had all these broken bones from the osteogenesis imperfecta for the bare bones. I used to go to the old children's hospital in Philadelphia. Now that was a great place as far as the nurses and the doctors and the care, and it still is. But the building itself was old, stone gray. It looked like a castle or like a mausoleum, something. It was just it wasn't cheerful, you know. And whenever I would catch sight of the hospital, driving up in the car or in an ambulance or something, I literally felt a chill broken down my spine, like shaking kind of thing. Because number one, it was a very ugly, ugly building. Number two, that was the house of pain, so to speak. That was a house that he dreaded. And very few times would I go into that hospital looking forward to it, good news, sort of a checkup thing. It was always because of a broken bone, something like that. So it didn't have very good memories for me. So, but what a difference. Now the hospitals are bright windows, and bright colors, and paintings, and just bright and cheerful and joyful. What a difference between now and when I was a kid, you know, 50 years, 50, 60 years. So we've come a long way, not only in physical care for people, but in mind, in how people look at the hospital experience instead of it being very gloomy and depressing. Now, at least the atmosphere, the environment was very open and wide. The sun is streaming in, and there's a lot of brightness. And it makes a lot of difference because it really is, especially having a positive attitude. And if you're recuperating, you have to have a certain attitude. The positive attitude goes a long way. So I'm glad that the modern hospitals of today are much different than they were when I was growing. And I'll say another thing: the staff is different too. It seemed like all my doctors back in the time were old. My main doctor was a guy named Dr. Nichols. He was this world-renowned orthopedic doctor. He knew everything there is to know about brittle bones, osteogenesis, the perfecting. And he was a surgeon, and he was a great guy. And but he was older. He was already older. So he reminded me of Marcus Welby, MD. I don't know how many of you remember the old show, Marcus Welby, starring Robert Young as the sort of kindly, friendly family doctor. Well, that was Dr. Nicholson, only he had these round granny glasses. He sort of looked like, John Lennon round glasses on. And even though he was actually from New Jersey, he didn't have a Jersey accent. He had more of a distinguished British sort of accent. David Niven, I don't know. Although I don't think he was British, but I think he had traveled the world a lot. He was a big shot, back in the medical field, back in the day. He's a smart guy, and saved my life. How many times I would go to him with a broken bone and just knew what to do right away. Performed all the surgeries on my legs. He was my lifeline, so to speak, when I was a kid. And I was still scared whenever I had to go in for surgery or have a broken bone fixed, so to speak, with a cast. But he always made it a little better because I had faith in him. I believed in him, and I knew he knew what he was doing. Even though Children's Hospital back in the day was, again, the house of pain, I nicknamed it. But still, I knew eventually it was a place I needed to go and needed to be to feel better. So Nowadays, though, it seems like all my doctors are younger. The old thing was, okay, you want to get an older doctor, they have experience, which is true. Nowadays, I think it's younger people are in the medical field, and all, not only physicians and nurses, but x-ray techs and anesthesia. The obvious one, my anesthesia guy was a guy named Dan. And I probably not the watching this. I didn't mention them to do a blog. And but his name was Dan, and he had a 76er head we had on. And that actually made me feel better because obviously he's a Sixer fan, but um he didn't know that actually made me feel better, relaxed me. It was like this guy is sort of what he's the same as me, the fan. And so he went through a spiel. Yeah, when I got into the surgical unit and had to take all my clothes off and put on this hospital gown when it's actually flattering. And I'm laying there and they started up the IV and got that going, took my temperature, blah, some to the set forms and a scat comes in and he's the anesthesiologist or one, and he's wearing the 6 years scarf over his head. And so we started talking about the operation and the procedure and that was all cool. And then at the end, he said, "Do you have any questions?" And I said, "Yeah." So do you think the Sixers go win tomorrow? And he started laughing. And we started talking Sixers and sports for a couple of weeks. So that actually made me feel better. And they did win. We're going to talk about that in a minute, but they did win. So I like that, when you can find people like that who are down the road. I had a guy in Waterloo one time, I'll never forget it. I was in Children's Hospital, the old Children's Hospital, and I was about to go upstairs for one of the major surgeries. Mainly when I was a kid, they used to put these big pins and rods in my legs to keep the bones straight and keep them strong. Hopefully, the purpose was that my bones weren't going to break as easily with these metal, these really steel, titanium pins and rods in my legs. Well, surgery was like a big surgery, and I was scared. And I remember coming home in the car before the surgery, after the appointment, and that's when they found out I needed the surgery. I was only like maybe 12 years old. They wait until you're like almost in your teens before they try to do this procedure. And I remember my parents telling me that they thought it was a good idea. I remember sitting in the car on the way home, coming home, we're going through Valley Forge Park, and the car radio was on, and the song, I'll never forget this. I don't know if you remember this song, it was an instrumental back in the late 60s called da, 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 blue on blue or blue something. Da, 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 da. And that was playing. And I actually like that song. It was pretty cool. And I'll never forget it because I was crying. And because the parents told me that they always let me make my own decisions. That's no matter how young I was, my parents were really cool because they weren't the type to say, "This is what you got to do. You got to do this. It's for your best interest. We think it's the best." They always left me make my own decisions, my own medical decisions. no matter how old I was, they explained everything to me, and they said, it's up to you. Now, this is what we think you should do, and this is what, you know, uh, we're trusting the doctor, Dr. Nicholson, and this is what we think you should do, but it's up to you. It's up to you. And I remember sitting in the car, listening to that song, almost on my way home, about 10 minutes from home, and crying and saying, okay, I'll have it done. I'll have it done. And it was just scary because you just didn't know what was going to happen. I really didn't understand what they were going to do. They just talked about putting these pins in my legs. And so I did. But what made me feel better, I remember, I think maybe it was the first time I had surgery. I think I had four different surgeries. None of them worked because my body would reject these long pins each time. Every surgery, they went bigger and bigger. They started out with a pin maybe like this long, and then it went to, and then it went up. And they put it all down my lower leg, the shin bone, you know, to prevent that from not breaking. And if that worked, then I think their plan was to do the upper part of the leg, up near the side bone. And so the goal was to help me to walk. And so my legs were fractured using it. Anyway, it never worked because after a few months after the surgery, the pins would start to come out of the skin. I remember it would look like a little scab, and then all of a sudden, maybe a week later, you'd see this shiny thing sticking out of the wound, and it was the pin making its way out of the leg. And it was pretty gruesome. You know, I couldn't believe what was happening. And if there's a way to say you get used to some stuff like that, I guess I did. You know, I just didn't think twice about it after a while. You know, it was something normal in my life to have this stainless steel pin sticking out of my leg. And you know, the way that they took care of that was I'd have to go back down to Children's Hospital, see Dr. Nicholson, who would grab a pair of pliers, and they would just pull the pin out from the bone and start over. You know, it had to be very frustrating for him and for me because all that work, all that rehab, all that planning just went down the drain. But you know what? I appreciated him for trying. At least they didn't give up on me. You know? They really tried. So God bless him. You know, he's not with us anymore. But I think about him quite often. I write about him in my book. And but getting back to the first surgery, I'll never forget. I was going up on the elevator to the OR, and there was this an orderly was taking me up, and he was just cracking jokes all the way. He was like the older Rodney Dangerfield, you know. I mean, we're talking about the maybe the middle, the late 60s, you know. And he's at Rodney Dangerfield up in the elevator. He's like, my wife did that was, and I'm telling me joke after joke after joke. And I love that stuff. And here I am, a little woozy because they had given me a shot, you know, to prepare me for the OR. And here, you know, I'm a little woozy laying on the gurney there, and this guy's telling me all these jokes, you know. And so, but you know what? I never forgot him. He made me feel better. He cheered me up. Here I was facing major surgery, and I was scared to death. I said, what's going to happen? You know? Uh, and this guy, I never even knew his name, who he is, I don't know. And, but he made me feel better. I was like, God had sent this angel down to me and all these other kids at Children's Hospital to cheer us up. And can you imagine him working at the place, seeing so many sick kids with different ailments, different conditions, different diseases. And here he was doing his best to make me feel better, make all these kids, all these sick kids feel better. I mean, that's an incredible guy. That's a hero to me. Anyway, I remember that. So that's why I remember when I was a kid. And getting back to stuff going on now, you know, that's I think about it and it's like and that's one of the reasons why I wrote my book. Because there's so many people in my life who touched my life in so many special ways that I wanted to let the world know of it and give them their credit. But hey, even though I don't know his name, who knows what happened to him? That was a special person in my life who I never forgot. So it's a lesson to us all that don't ever underestimate being kind to someone because it may make a difference in their life. It may be something that they remember for the rest of their life. Why? Because, like me, I needed someone at that time who was funny and who was kind. You know, my parents, it was so early in the morning. I remember surgery was like 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. So they were prepping me already about 5 in the morning. And my parents were on their way down. They had other kids to take care of and get ready for school and whatever. So I was alone. I was alone down, other than the kids in the unit there. And so I was sad and depressed, and there was this guy who made me feel better. So anyway, I got the colonoscopy out of the way. I got the endoscopy out of the way. So now I'm waiting for the pathology reports. But I did read the initial reports online from my gastroenterologist or whatever it knows. And they seem to be pretty positive. They took some polyps out, not only in my throat. That's why maybe my voice sounds a little raspy. And in my colon, and hopefully that will turn out to be nothing. So I'm starting to eat solid food again. And I'm starting to feel more like myself. So that's good news. I'm just glad it's behind me. Pardon the pun, that it's behind me. Because it's something that you think about a lot and you worry about. I'm a worrier. I know I shouldn't be. And as a social worker, I tell other people, don't stress it, don't think about it. And yet here I am worrying about stuff, you know? So I'm just glad it's over with. And I can look forward to spring and summer and life. And so that is good. That is down. The other thing I wanted to talk about too is the Sixers. And how about those Sixers, huh? Went in on Tuesday night. They're up 3-2 over the dreaded rival Boston Celtics. And if the Sixers win tonight, they move on to the Eastern Conference Finals. And they have not been to the East Finals in over 20 years. since Allen Iverson, great Allen Iverson, played for the Sixers. So the town is really, even out here in the suburbs, really hyped up for tonight's game. Hopefully they're going to win and move on in the playoffs. And so I'm still rooting for the Sixers. And can't wait. Sixers are a good example of never giving up, right? And that's what this show is all about. Unbreakable spirits, sharing hope and inspiration and hoping to touch someone out there with a smile too. So, and the Sixers are doing that. They're giving everybody out here a lot of inspiration. You know, it's sports. People just sometimes they fluff up sports as meaningless and just entertainment and diversity from life, from reality. You know? But to me, sports is much more than that. Think about it. If you have a winning team on in your city or in your area, think about how it brings people together. Now, like now, you go to the grocery store, you see people are wearing their Sixers gear and look at you no more than afraid pirates or whatever. But you know what I mean. A lot of it last year when the Phillies were in the World Series, everybody last fall was wearing Phillies red. Phillies this, Phillies that. You see somebody in the store, it's go Phillies, right? The Eagles, when they were in the Super Bowl, people were wearing their green and saying, go Birds. And just everybody was happy. Sports, it makes you happy. It does. It is a diversion away from reality. And, you know, we have a lot going on in this world with a lot of stress and a lot of, you know, and you need that. You need a diversion. We need to get away from that, right? And have fun and think about something else other than war or politics or whatever else is going on. Yeah. So so it's I think sports is much more than it brings the community together. Think about it. It doesn't matter if you're black and white, if you're Asian, if you're Latino, what religion you are, Catholic, Protestant, Jewish, Muslim. It doesn't matter if you're a Sixers fan, you're a Sixers, right? And you're Eagles fan, go Birds. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the politics is. You know, I just wish more of the world was like that. So to me, sports is a great bond. It brings people together. And that's something we need more and more in this world, especially in these days, is not division, not people against each other. We need people who are coming together. That's what we're all here for. We're all in the same boat, right? We're all here to help each other. And to me, sports is a great equalizer. It's a great thing. Even if it's just for a few weeks of cheering on the team using the playoffs. Hey, it's great. So that's the way we feel around here about our 76ers at this time. Is that it's another thing that brings the community together. It gives us something to rally around and cheer about, and to watch the games, whether it be in person or on our TV. And it makes a lot of great memories too. I can think back, as I said, to Allen Iverson 20 years ago, or way before that. I remember Dr. J. And I, you know, Wilt Chamberlain it wasn't before my time, but I barely remember what to. You know, that's what sports does. It makes memories. But 20 years from now, hopefully I'm still around and we can think back on this time and say, wow, wasn't that a cool year? when Joel Embiid won the MVP and the Sixers won World Championship. Wasn't that great? Or even just beating the dreaded Boston Celtics. So I think it's pretty cool. So anyway, I'm glad to be back. I'm glad to do another one of these podcasts with you. I'm still hoping to have some special guests on down the road. Bud, our friend, is doing just great. Great. You know, he's 10 days post his surgery. He had 10 teeth taken out, and he was doing fantastic. Thank you to everyone for all the prayers and thoughts at the time. He's just doing great. He's like another Bud. You know, it seems like he's a younger version of himself again. You know, he's playing with his toys, he's eating better, he's running and jumping. It's just Bud, we all know him. And Katie, our little friend Katie, is doing well. Oh, Bud's right here. I can see him. There he is. Well, I think he did snore. That wasn't good. This, that was Bud. That was me. That's anyway. Bud's there. Katie's somewhere around. So maybe she's sleeping too. And she's doing good too. So, and Holly is out shopping and she's doing good too. And happy Mother's Day to everybody out there. In case I don't see you guys, have a great Mother's Day. And I'm thinking of my mom who's up there and having happy Mother's Day to you. Every Mother's Day, I remember I would get a card with $2 in the envelope with a bingo, and I would always get a box of Whitney stamps. That was her go-to gift. She loved that for Mother's Day. Sometimes flowers, but if I got her a box of Whitney chocolates, old school, very old school, like me, she was a happy kid. Happy kid. So, anyway, thank you for watching the program again. I hope to see you all again soon. I hope to do another podcast in a day or two. So, you guys all take care out there. And I'll see you soon. Bye bye. That's it.